We're about to start a new month, and that means it's time for me to pick my May TBR. Hi everyone, I'm Rhonda, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. And you guys know how these TBR videos go. I'm going to use my little prompt jar to pick 6 prompts, and then I'm going to pick 6 books based off those prompts. And then as a bonus, I'm going to randomly select one book title out of this jar and hopefully read that too. Abby has come to join us again, so everyone say hi, Abby. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Let me pull up my list of books that are coming out in May because I can't remember off the top of my head what's coming out. Okay, the dogs are playing in this room. I can't get them out. So let's talk about May new releases. There's a lot, and there's a lot of ones that I definitely have on my radar, but I kind of want to see what other people think about them, what the early reviews are before I get to them. But the 2 that I'm most definitely going to read are No One Was Supposed to Die at This Wedding by Catherine Mack. I read every time I go on vacation, someone dies, and I really enjoy that book. I think I gave it 4 stars. Very funny, a cozy mystery. And then the other one is It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. That one comes out on May 27th, and I do have an ebook art copy of both of those books, so I will definitely get to those. I cannot wait to read Annabelle Monaghan's newest book. I'm so sorry. This video is going to be chaotic. I can feel it already. But anyway, those are going to be the 2 books I'm definitely going to read in May. So in addition to those 2 books, let's go ahead and pick some prompts so I can pick some books off my physical TBR cart. Let's start with our very first prompt, and that's, going to be cover with my favorite color. Okay, my favorite color is blue. So let's find a blue book. There's a ton of them. We have 5 Years From Now by Paige Toon. I have not read a book by Paige Toon before. I have a Sophie Cousins book called Just Haven't Met You Yet. I've read a few Sophie Cousins books, and for the most part, I have enjoyed them. I also have The Finders Keepers Library by Annie Raines. This I got to read this spring, so this is definitely a contender. I have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read my first Taylor Jenkins Reid last month. I finally got to Evelyn Hugo, and I'm not sure what I was waiting on with that book. It was so good and so emotional. I also have The Royals Next Door. This is a book where what would happen if Prince Harry and Meghan move next door, and I think our main female character is falling in love with their bodyguard or something. So this is a good option. Please don't knock over the camera, guys. Let's see. I think it's going to be between these 3 books, and I really want to read another Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I was going to hold off and read this summer, but I think summer's almost here. We're in May, so let's go ahead. I think I'm going to read this one. My very first book for May is going to be Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And what I know about this is I think this is about a famous family in a party, and something happens at this party, and so you're following this book trying to figure that out. I'm not sure, but I read my first TJR book, loved it, cannot wait to read some of her backlist. So this is going to be the first book that I'm going to get to in May. All right, let's pick the second prompt for May, and that's going to be a winter setting. Oh no, I don't want to read a book that's set in the winter. I don't think I have a whole lot on my cart that is set in the winter time, because when I pulled books earlier this week to put on this cart, I mainly pulled books that were more set in a spring or summer setting. I pulled some lighthearted romances, some rom-coms, so I just don't think I have anything. Quickly looking at this, maybe, okay, well, she has a coat on, and it looks like there's white stuff on the ground, so probably snow. So The Alice Network by Kate Quinn, that is a possibility. You guys know this is a historical fiction book. I have not read anything by Kate Quinn, although I do have a couple other books on my physical TBR that I want to read. What else? I don't think I have anything, guys. So I think I'm going to have to go with, yeah, there's nothing back there that's going to work. if we're just looking at this cart, the only book that I think is going to be set in the wintertime is The Alice Network. So this is one I go to. And I've been wanting to read more historical fiction. And I've been wanting to get to Kate Quinn because I have the Briar Club and the Rose Code on my physical TBR too. So the second book I'm going to pick for May is going to be The Alice Network. And this is set during World War II. It says it's set in the chaotic aftermath of World War II, and it's about an American college girl. She's pregnant and married and on the verge of being thrown out of her very proper family. And I guess it's just about her life, and it also talks about World War I. So I think this is just going to be an interconnecting two different timeline type situation. So the second book I'm going to read is The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. All right, let's pick my third prompt, and that's going to be has a book on the cover. Okay, this will be a fun one. So let me go through these books and see which ones have a book on the cover. Fun for the whole family. I've been wanting to get to this one, but he's reading a book, so there's a book on that cover. Georgie All the Way, pretty yellow cover. She's reading a book. There's a lot of books on this one. That has a book. I think I have enough to choose from. I picked 4 books. First off, we have A Fun for the Whole Family by Jennifer E. Smith. I think this is just a general fiction book. I heard this was really good. And then I have The Last Goodbye. I think this is going to be a very much a tearjerker romance. This is about a woman who her husband has passed away, but she will still call his phone number to listen to his voicemail. And then one day when she calls, someone else has gotten his phone number, and it's this guy, and they start talking, and I guess she's still obviously grieving for her husband, and they, I guess, form a connection. It's a romance, so I'm assuming a romance ensues, but I've been really into emotional reads lately, so this is a pretty good contender. And then again, I have the Finder Keepers Library, and I bought this because of the cover. It was so pretty and springish. This is a romance too, and I think she goes to her grandmother's or her aunt's house and stays with her for the summer, and a storm comes and it destroys her aunt's little library, and so the people of the town help rebuild this library, and then there's a neighbor and they kind of bond over books. So this sounds very cute. And then I've been wanting to read this. This is Georgie All Along. It's a heartfelt tale of one woman's quest to reinvent herself, and it's a poignant, witty reflection on how the hopes, dreams, and stories from our past shape our future. So I have to pick one of these books, and I don't know which one I'm going to pick because they are all so different. I have a historical fiction and then a general fiction, so I may want to go with a romance. And I don't know if Georgie All Along is a romance. You know what, I'm going to do The Last Goodbye just because I've been reading some emotional reads and they've just been hitting. As I'm filming this, we're in April, and I have like 3 5-star reads so far this month, and that's crazy, and I just want to keep that ball rolling. And I know emotional books usually just hit me hard, and I usually really enjoy them. So we're going to do The Last Goodbye by Fiona Lucas for my 3rd book in May. Okay, let's pick. We're going to pick prompt number 4, and this is Bowie. This is the puppy I showed y'all not that long ago. He has doubled in size. He's going to be a big dog. I can feel it already. He's just going to sniff everything. Okay, prompt number 4 is book with a different color spine. Oh, when I wrote this out, I was thinking the front cover and the back cover would be one color, and then the spine is a completely different color. And let's go through these books and see which one matches this. Okay, I came across 3 books that has a different colored spine. First, we have The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley. This has kind of like a pinkish spine, and the cover and back cover are like this yellowish, oranges, like gold color. This is by Courtney Walsh, and I've read a few books by Courtney Walsh, and I really do like her romances just because they are clean, closed-door romances, and I do appreciate those. It's a good option. Second book is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This has a yellow cover and back cover and then a blue spine. This is a YA romance. I don't read YA romances, but my daughter wanted this book and I want to read it before her. So that's why I got it. This one, I've heard it's great. I've heard a lot of people say this was a really good rom-com. I think this one is going to be a Friends to Lovers. It's about Liz and Wes, who have kind of grown up together, and Liz's crush moves in next door to her, and his name is Michael, and Wes and Michael kind of become friends, and so she realizes, hey, if I want Michael to ask me to prom, I kind of need to start hanging out with Wes and getting good with Wes so that he can kind of help her get Michael to go to prom with her. So this is a really good contender because I know my daughter is wanting me to read this so that she can read it. And then the other book is Dan and Jan at the End of the World by Colleen Oakley. I have not read anything by Colleen Oakley, but this one just says a date night goes off the rails in this insightful take on midlife and marriage when one unhappy couple find themselves at the heart of a crime in progress. I got this because the plot sounded amazing and it sounded like the movie Date Night a little bit, but I was on Goodreads and I don't know if it's one of you guys or just some random person that I follow, they did not like this book, and that makes me a little nervous to read it. But reading is subjective, so I'm keeping an open mind. But this one has a blue cover and a blue back cover, and it has a pink spine. But I think I know I'm going to go with, Better Than the Movies, just because I know my daughter wants to read this, and I really need to hurry up and read it so that if it's appropriate for her, I can pass it along to her. But I'm not looking forward to it just because it's YA romance, and that's really not my jam. But we're going to go with that one. So the fourth book that I picked is Better Than Movies by Lynn Painter. Let's pick the fifth prompt for May. And that is going to be read a book from a previous season. You know what? I'm not doing this one. This is my channel, my rules, and I've already picked a book from the winter time, and I don't want to pick another book from the winter. So we're going to draw again. All right, prompt number 5 is ugly cover. Okay. All right, so I need to go through and find some covers that I think are not awesome. And that's gonna be hard because I think a lot of these are beautiful covers. So give me a moment. I came across 3 books on my cart that I think have ugly covers. The first one is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I think this is a lit fic, but the cover is pretty basic. It's just line art of a woman and a man. And I don't even remember what this one is about. It says, Connell and Marianne grew up in the same small town, but the similarities end there. At school, is it Connell or Connell? I don't know. Anyway, he's popular and well-liked, while Marianne is a loner, but when the two strike up a conversation, awkward and electrifying, something life-changing begins. Normal People is a story of mutual fascination, friendship, and love. So I've heard Sally Rooney is amazing. I haven't read anything by her, and I've heard a lot of people like this book, and it is shorter. I'm in the middle of reading Throne of Glass, so I think I could probably go for a short novel. So this is a very good possibility. I also have The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard. I think this was on my TBR like last year and I never got to it. But the cover is like this pink and purple. Looks like there's a staircase. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. I didn't have a lot of books to choose from that had ugly covers, and this was one that kind of stood out. So this is about a woman whose entire family was killed by this serial killer called the Nothing Man. And again, she was the only survivor, and as an adult, she wants to know, they never found the Nothing Man. They don't know who he is. And so as an adult, she's trying to find who he is. And I think she writes a book, and this man is working at a mall or he's a supermarket security guard, and he's reading the book called The Nothing Man that this woman has written. And lo and behold, it's on the back of the book, so I'm not giving anything away, but the Nothing Man is the security guard. So he's reading this book about himself because he is the Nothing Man. So this one sounds really interesting. I've heard it's good. And honestly, I have not been reading very many thrillers, and I used to love thrillers. That was mainly what I read. So this is also a good possibility. And then I have another thriller called The Guest by B.A. Paris. I used to love B.A. Paris back in the day. I have not read a lot of her books recently, but this is about a couple who have come home from a vacation. I think their marriage is in trouble, and one of their really good friends, Lori, is in their house, and I think she tries to take over. And yeah, it says she's sleeping in their bed, wearing Iris's clothes, even rearranging the furniture. Apparently, Lori has walked out on her husband. So I think that's what this is about. It's about Lori just kind of taking over their lives and being an unwanted guest, or maybe a guest that has overstayed her welcome. So I have 2 thrillers and a lit fic. And I think I'm going to go with a thriller. I kind of want to go with The Nothing Man. This has been on my shelf for a while, and it was on one of my TBRs last year, and I just really want to get to it. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't read very many thrillers here this year, so I really need to step up my thriller reading game. So the 5th book that I'm picking for May is The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard, and I've not read anything by this author, so bonus there. Let's pick my last prompt before we get to the bonus book, and the prompt number 6 is going to be released this year. Okay, let's see what I have. I have a thriller, I have a YA romance, I have kind of a emotional romance, I have an historical fiction, and I have a general fiction. So, obviously, Fun for the Whole Family was released this year. I've already talked about that one. Jane and Dan at the End of the World was released this year. Wild Side was released this year. Wild and Wrangled, I've been wanting to get to this one. This is the newest book, and well, it's the newest and the last book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. So that is an option. And I also have The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. This is a YA fantasy romance, and I've really been wanting to get to this. I've heard it's really cute, and the cover is gorgeous. Look at those pretty pink flowers. The only problem I have is I am reading the Throne of Glass series right now, and I'm hesitant to read another fantasy or get into another fantasy, even though this is the first book. I think it's part of a series, but this is the first book. If I read another fantasy, I start getting confused. I get confused very easily, by the way, especially with fantasies. So I don't, even though I really want to read this, I think I'm going to hold off just a little bit. So that leaves Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is a small town romance. It's not really a cowboy romance, but this is going to be a marriage of convenience. And I used to also read a lot of historical romances, and that was my favorite trope in historical romances. So this is a good possibility. And then again, I have a small town cowboy romance called Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the very last book in this series, and it was just released this month, so I kind of want to get to this too. But I think I'm going to go with Wild Side just because this came out in March, and I've been wanting to get to it. I just haven't had a chance, and I think May is a good time. It's usually, if I'm in a reading slump, I can pick up an Elsie Silver book, and she'll pull me right out of that slump. Her books are always a lot of fun to read, even though they're a little too spicy for me. So I think the 6th book for May is going to be Wild Side by Elsie Silver. Okay, so with these 6 books picked from my TBR Prompt Jar, I'm going to pick one bonus book, and in this jar I have all the titles that I own, and I'm just going to blindly pick one book and hopefully get to that 7th book this month as well. Okay, oops, did I get to you? Yeah. Alrighty, the final book that I'm picking for the month of May is Layla by Colleen Hoover. And this one is actually already on my TBR cart, and I have it down here. So we are going to read another thriller, which I'm not sad about, but this is Layla by Colleen Hoover, and I think this is kind of like a ghost story. It says, when Lead meets Layla, he's convinced he'll spend the rest of his life with her until an unexpected attack leaves Layla fighting for her life. She recovers, but she's different than who Lead falls in love with. And in order to put the relationship back on track, he takes her to a bed and breakfast where they first met. Once they arrive, Layla's behavior takes a bizarre turn, and that's just one of many inexplicable occurrences. Okay, I thought I heard this was a ghost story. Maybe not, but the 7th and final book for the month of May is going to be Layla by Colleen Hoover. Okay, let's do one quick recap. The first book I picked is The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. It's a historical fiction. Next is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm so excited to pick up another one of her books. And then I have probably more of an emotional romance, and that is The Last Goodbye by Fiona Lucas. And I'm not super excited about this, but I'm glad I'm getting into it just for the sake of my daughter, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. It's a YA romance. And then I have The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is a thriller. And then I have Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This one is a small town contemporary romance. And finally, again, is Layla by Colleen Hoover. All right, my friends, these are the books that I picked for the month of May. Overall, I have, as always, an assortment of genres. I have historical fiction. I'm very excited that I have a couple of thrillers, and I'm thinking I'll probably love them. I have another TJR book that I can get to, and I think it's just going to be a really good solid month of reading. On top of that, there's a lot of new releases coming out, a couple that I'm for sure going to read. And then there are some other books that are on my radar that I definitely want to try and keep my eye out for and see if they're books that I might enjoy too. But again, these are the books I'm going to read. If you have read any of these books, as always, please let me know in the comments what you thought about them. And also let me know what is on your TBR for the month of May. Let me know what your reading plans are for May. And like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know the drill. Do all the things. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.